There is a particular kind of evening that stays with you. The light is soft, the air is easy. You are sitting somewhere peaceful, maybe with someone you love, maybe alone with something warm in your hands. And by every measure that exists, this moment is good. This moment is exactly the kind of thing that you said you wanted when the week was hard. And yet, your mind is not here. You are not sure when it happened. It happened quietly, the way a tide goes out. But somewhere between sitting down and right now, your thoughts slipped away. You are replaying something that happened 3 days ago, running through a conversation you haven't had yet, doing that thing where you stare at nothing in particular while a vague, formless worry circulates in the background, like a low hum you cannot locate. Your body is present. Your mind is somewhere else entirely. And the strange thing, the part that has started to feel like a problem, is that this is not new. It happens at dinner. It happens on holiday. It happens in the middle of a quiet Sunday you are looking forward to all week. It happens when you are laughing with someone, and then suddenly you are not quite laughing anymore. You are just making the face of laughing while some other part of you has gone somewhere you did not consciously choose to go. You finish a drive and realize you remember nothing about the journey. You read a page of a book and reach the end with no idea what it said. You sit down to rest, and your brain immediately starts making a to-do list. At some point, you start to wonder what is wrong with you. Why can't you just be here? Why does the present feel like a place you are always passing through, rather than somewhere you actually live? And the frustrating part, the part that makes it feel circular, is that the harder you try to be present, the more your mind seems to resist. You tell yourself to focus, to just be here, and for about 4 seconds it works, and then your brain quietly slips away again, like a child who wandered off in a supermarket while you were looking at something else. That is not a character flaw, that is not ingratitude, and it is most definitely not laziness. What it actually is your brain doing exactly what it was designed to do, just at the completely wrong time. Let me show you what I mean. There is a network of regions inside your brain, a cluster of areas that researchers call the default mode network, and it does something quietly extraordinary. Whenever your attention is not locked onto a specific task, whenever your focus loosens its grip on the immediate world, this network activates automatically. It switches on like a background program the moment you stop actively concentrating on something in front of you. And what it does, in those unguarded moments, it begins to wander. Not randomly, purposefully, in the direction of things it considers important. It reaches back into memory and begins reviewing. Conversations, decisions, moments where something could have gone differently. It reaches forward into the future and begins rehearsing scenarios, possibilities and outcomes you might need to prepare for. It checks in on your relationships, your standing, the way someone looked at you this morning, and whether that look meant something. The researchers who discovered this network were initially puzzled by it. They expected the brain to rest when not engaged in a task. Instead, it got busier in certain regions. It turned out that what looks like a resting brain is actually a brain running its default program, and that program is fundamentally oriented towards the past and the future, towards narrative, towards anticipation, towards the invisible architecture of your social and emotional life. Your brain, it turns out, does not have an off switch. It has a different mode, and that mode has a job. Several, actually. The default mode network is responsible for what psychologists call mental time travel, your brain's extraordinary ability to leave the present moment and visit the past or the future. No other animal can sit in one place and mentally rehearse a difficult conversation from last week, or play out a scenario that hasn't happened yet, or simulate how a future version of themselves might feel in a situation they've never encountered. We can do all of that from a sofa. It is, in many ways, the foundation of planning, creativity, empathy, and self-reflection. But it also means that being fully present, truly, completely anchored to right now, requires your brain to actively suppress that default system. And that takes effort, real metabolic effort, which is part of why it feels almost unnatural, because in a biological sense, it is. Being present is not your brain's resting state. Wandering is. The present moment is not the default, it is the exception. Now there is a deeper reason your brain resists the present, and it has to do with how your brain understands safety. Your brain is, at its core, a prediction machine. Its single most important job, the one everything else is built around, is to anticipate what happens next. Not to experience the world as it is, but to model what it is likely to become. Because if you can predict what is coming, you can prepare. And if you can prepare, you are safer. The past is a library your brain trusts completely. It has already been through everything that has ever happened to you, and it has filed it carefully. When your mind drifts back there, it is on familiar ground. It knows the shape of those memories, even the painful ones. The future is a project your brain knows how to work on. It can run simulations. It can generate outcomes. It can identify risks and rehearse responses. Even when the future feels frightening, the act of thinking about it gives the brain something to do. And something to do feels like control. The present is neither of these things. The present is raw. It is just happening. You cannot predict it because it is already here. You cannot revise it because it is already real. And for a brain that understands safety as the ability to anticipate and manage, that rawness carries a faint but persistent signal of something unsettling. Not danger exactly, just uncertainty. The particular discomfort of something that cannot be controlled because it is not, technically, a problem to be solved. So the brain does what it always does with discomfort. It moves away, back to something familiar, or forward to something it can at least work on. And you, sitting in your present tense moment, find yourself somewhere else without ever deciding to leave. Layer on top of that something more specific, something more personal than any of these mechanisms. Many of you watching this are not just experiencing the ordinary drift of the default mode network. You are experiencing something more persistent, a low-grade background hum that never quite switches off. Psychologists call it hypervigilance. If you have spent a significant stretch of your life in stress, uncertainty, or anxiety, if you grew up in an unpredictable environment, or if worry has been a constant companion long enough that it started to feel normal, your brain may have quietly recalibrated its baseline. It learned, over time, that staying alert is safer than relaxing. Scanning the horizon for problems is more responsible than being caught off guard. And so, even in genuinely calm moments, even when there is objectively nothing wrong, there is still a part of your brain doing quiet, continuous surveillance, monitoring, checking, just in case. And this connects directly to something we explored in a previous video on the Zeigarnik Effect, the brain's tendency to keep rehearsing unfinished business. Psychologist Bluma Zeigarnik found that incomplete tasks create a kind of open loop in your mind, a persistent mental tug that keeps pulling your attention back until things feel resolved. It is as though your mind is running dozens of browser tabs in the background. Each one is open to something unfinished. Each one quietly consumes some portion of your attention and your presence, even when you are not aware of it. Conversations that didn't end cleanly, decisions you've been quietly avoiding, feelings you pushed down because the moment they arose was not convenient. These things do not simply wait. They circulate. They reach up through the floor of whatever moment you are in and pull at your attention with the quiet insistence of something that knows it has not been dealt with yet. And the more tabs you have open, the harder it becomes to be fully absorbed in anything, the harder it becomes to let a moment land. Which brings us to the part I think matters most. Here is the strange, beautiful, and slightly heartbreaking truth. The people who struggle most to be present are often the ones who feel the most. The overthinkers, the planners, the worriers, the people who care deeply about getting things right, about keeping the people they love safe, about not being caught off guard. Your brain is not broken. It is overprotective. It has learned, probably from years of experience, that staying mentally alert is how you stay safe. It has never been told that it is allowed to stop. It has never been permitted to put down the work. And so it keeps going, even during dinner, even on holiday, even when the threat has long since passed. That is not a weakness. That is loyalty, a misplaced, exhausting kind of loyalty. Your brain is trying to take care of you. It just needs to learn that right now, in this moment, you are okay. So what do you do with all of this? I want to be careful here, because I am not going to hand you a list of productivity tips or tell you to download a mindfulness app. What I want to offer instead is something quieter, a reframe, because the most useful thing you can take from understanding the default mode network, hypervigilance, and the open loop effect is not a technique. It is permission. The present moment feels hard to reach, not because you lack discipline or focus. It feels hard to reach because your brain genuinely believes that relaxing is risky. Presence, full, unhurried, unguarded presence requires a kind of safety that many of us have not consistently felt. It is not a skill you are missing. It is a sense of safety you may still be building, and you cannot force your way there. Presence is not a decision you make through concentration. It is a state your nervous system either settles into or doesn't, depending on whether it feels safe enough to stop scanning. What changes that state is not effort, but ease. Not more discipline, but less threat. Not pushing yourself to be here, but slowly, patiently giving your nervous system something that signals that here is somewhere it is safe to be. This is why certain people, certain places, and certain activities seem to unlock presence almost effortlessly, not because they demand focus, but because they reduce the background noise. They close a few tabs. They give the brain permission, through some combination of stillness and safety, to stop running its maintenance program for a moment and be in the thing that is actually happening. So the goal is not to silence your mind. That is not possible, and honestly, it is not even the point. The goal is to gently notice when it wanders, without shame, without frustration, without yet another reason to be hard on yourself. Your brain wandered. It does that. It is doing its job. And you can softly, without force, bring your attention back. Not because you failed when it drifted, but because the present moment is worth returning to every single time. If any part of this resonated with you, if something here named an experience you could not quite put into words before, I would love to hear about it in the comments. Tell me what pulls you out of the present most. Is it the past? The future? The mental to-do list that never quite clears? I genuinely want to know. And if this felt like something someone in your life needed to hear, share it with them. Subscribe if you want to keep going deeper, because we are only just getting started. And maybe that is what makes all of this so exhausting. You finally get a moment of peace, and your mind does not know what to do with it. Because for some people, calm does not feel like rest. It feels like waiting for something bad to happen. And if that sounds familiar, the next video is going to explain exactly why your brain does that. Because there's a reason anxiety spikes when everything is fine, and it has nothing to do with being ungrateful. Welcome to the Decoded Brain.